Hey everybody, this is Perch, and if you're paying attention to Mark Miller's new channel, he's got. It's weird how, maybe this is me just being a purist. I don't call YouTube videos kind of what I do podcasts. Several people I talk to do, like when creators reach out, they're like, "Hey, we should do a podcast sometime." And I always am kind of like, there's a moment of confusion because I consider these like teaser videos, or I'm not even sure what the hell this is. Your suggestions are welcome in the comments. I say, not really wanting them, but I'm, you know what? I'm not kidding. But podcast is a weird term. But anyway, Mark Miller has his podcast on his YouTube channel. Still feels like not a podcast, but there you go. It is, but it's great. He's got some good interviews up there. People to talk to. He talked to Greg Capullo, who, of course, Miller has worked with in the past. Capullo has worked for a number of different companies, but people have associated him, I think, a lot lately with DC, and maybe more specifically than that, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, the team that is doing has done a number of projects. And obviously, the two are friends, collaborators. They've done a lot together, and they helped kind of ignite, Batman for the New 52. It was one of the books that did perform, the best by a mile, and it kind of helped define, that it was a good long run, and really almost remarkable actually if you think about it, because the idea that you had a single writer and a single artist, I think there were a fill-in issue here or there, but by and large it was the two of them for what was a pretty long run on Batman. Several years you had that creative team. Pretty amazing. I mean, that just does not happen. Certainly, if it happens, it's happening at a lower level with lesser known talent. As soon as the name gets bigger, there becomes this urge to move them around like a hot potato. So pretty impressive that they got there. But during the podcast, see, it doesn't sound right. Greg Capullo revealed that he is going to be doing some work for Marvel Comics. Now, some people are reporting this incorrectly. They've talked about. I saw an article saying he's Marvel exclusive. That's patently not true. And some say he's jumping fully over to Marvel Comics. That sounds like the same thing as exclusive. That's not what he said either. He still is working on Creech as a book that he's actively involved in. He did Batman and Spawn, and that title ended very heavily with the hint that there will be more. Whether there will be or not, or whether there will be another decade or plus before we get to it, who knows? But regardless, and who knows whether Capullo would even be on it. The point here is he's got other things to do. So just to kind of clarify the record, the exact quote I'm reading to you from the podcast is, Marvel's been approaching me forever. So I run into CB a lot. And so I said, just to get started, we'll do a project, but I'll do some covers. Creech has to be my priority. It's 110 pages. I got to get through with that. And CB and I discussed a particular project because I'm 60 now. I don't want to do runs anymore. I told everybody at DC, Marvel, whoever, that 3 to 6 issue run, and that's it. I can't keep getting locked in because I want to do a few things before I hang up my pencil. My intention is to do some covers while I'm working on the Creech, do a project with Marvel, and then what happens after that, I'm not sure. I talked to Scott about an original idea I have. We'll probably do something like that at some point. Okay, so that's what's going on. So that's what we've got. So with that grounding, it basically is fairly straightforward than what we're left with, which is he's going to do some variant covers. That's disappointing, I think, on a pretty high level, and I'll get more to that in a second. That's where we're getting to. He'll do some work for Marvel somewhere along the line. There will be a project, and the project could be, they could go back to that model, and I know Marvel's kind of been itching to do it, where they do a Civil War, like, with a particular artist. What Marvel has been doing more recently is they get the artist from the run that leads into the event. Like Stegman does, King in Black. And so they've kind of been going that direction. And what I've heard is that Marvel's intrigued, or at least believes that the magic of getting the sales back into an event is to have a high-profile artist on the event that is, new and unique, and not somebody who is doing the run leading up to it. I'm not sure that logic works out on any level whatsoever, but what the hell, let's try it. So that's basically what we're getting. And then he says himself, he wants to do a project with Scott. Obviously, Scott has a number of different, he means Scott Snyder there, has a number of different projects in the mix. He wants to do a couple more things. He's in great shape for 60. So, here's hoping hanging up that pencil isn't any time too soon, because he is a very high end artist and high quality artist. But basically, this is not a huge blow to DC. He's going to be doing a bunch of Marvel work. It is what it seems pretty straightforward what's going on here. So, um, what do we make of all this? Well, I think that one thing we can take away from it is we're going to continue this pattern of artists that get to a high level, artists that have a higher page rate. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't about all money, but it feels like it is. But anyway, artists that are kind of at the top of their game, that are more senior, are increasingly going to be vectored toward variant covers. And I had this conversation with a different artist who was saying, well, no, it's older creators, it's creators that do not want the grind of a monthly book, and I get that because they can make good money off of covers, but at the same time, if Marvel or DC ponied up the same good money to do interior work, because the reality is, if you put out a comic with Capullo on it, or Art Adams on it, or J. Scott Campbell on it, it's going to sell. It's going to sell very, very well. You're going to make the money that would justify the higher page rate for these guys. So it all feels like a weird little money ball game that doesn't really benefit anyone when you say, well, we'll spend higher amounts for the cover with these guys, and that's how we'll kind of make some money, and you do, but you're still leaving money on the table, money that you could easily funnel to that artist. And while Capullo may be different, Capullo may say, I don't want to do a run, or I don't want to do a long thing. There's plenty of high-end artists that would happily do it if you paid them. The problem why, say, an Art Adams isn't interested in doing a 12-issue run is because you want him to do it at a discount rate. You want him to do it in a way that financially it's better for him to do covers. That's the offer on the table. So I resist a little bit this commentary that all these really high end great artists, they wouldn't want to do a monthly book. I don't know. Alex Ross seemed to want to do one when it could financially benefit him, and he did. And that is the game that should be being played right now. But here we are. So the kind of the sad part to me, and I guess the commentary I'll give on all this, is that we've got some really talented people, Capullo, Adams, Ross, others. And as we saw with Ross in the Fantastic Four issue, we have, a design. People will buy, a book, an actual book where the interior pages are by them. They would like it. Now, maybe it's not a monthly run. Maybe it's a graphic novel or an OGN or just some kind of, one-off. But the interest is there from the consumer base. And as we saw with the sales of Full Circle, the money is there. So why is it that we feel like why has this career track been established where it's like, okay, if you get popular enough, you're going to be doing variant covers? Because I'll be honest, I don't care about the variant covers. I know several of you on the channel, you've said so, collect them, and that's fun. But does that get you excited? The idea, I mean, put it this way. If I was to tell you, hey, you get to pick A or B, and maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get both, but let's just say you get to pick A or B. That's it. Would you rather have, 8 Greg Capullo variant covers over the next year for Marvel? Basically, he does 8 variant covers. Or would you rather have one 40-page OGN for Marvel that he did the interior work for? What would you rather have? Would you rather have the covers, or would you have or 0 covers? Well, the cover for the one OGN, but basically him doing a project that's Greg Capullo, 40 pages, that's it. Or would you rather have the 8 covers? Now, again, he said in the interview, it's his time. He's trying to get Creech out. He's, there's other factors here. So, the artist has to be willing to do it. But if you went to J. Scott Campbell and you said, hey, we'll pay you to do a 40-page OGN, but and we're going to pay you your variant cover rate. We're going to pay you high dollar for those pages, and that's what we'd like you to do. Or, same amount of money, or maybe even less money because it's fewer covers. You could do a cover a month, 12 covers. So 12 covers at one rate versus a 40-page book. So 12 pages at a rate or 40 pages at a rate during the year. Well, most creators are going to take the 40-page book. Some that have other projects going on will take the covers because it's just easier to manage with all that kind of stuff. But even if you gave them hey, look, this doesn't have to fit into a run. There's not the release schedule can be soft. Let's just, it can be done on your own time. It can't take 5 years, but if you can commit to getting we'll give you a 2-year range of when this thing needs to come out. Even if the artist has other projects, I think they take that deal. And as somebody collecting, buying the comic, I'd rather have that deal. I don't, the variant covers by superstar artists do not do a lot for me. Or whether it's the main cover, variant cover, whatever it happens to be, doesn't do much. Collectors may like it, but it's still, it doesn't move the needle in the industry very much. But you start putting out high quality one shots like this, that I think has potential to move quite a bit. So that's what I would prefer. But maybe I'm in the minority now. So you let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.